Cloud. All right, we are recording. We are up to 40. We're gonna have a good day. Welcome everybody. It is Tuesday morning. I have successfully walked my dogs, given them treats, made coffee. I have checked my notes. I have relaxed for a little bit, and I've been up since 5:30, so it's not a long time because it's only 11. But that is what I've done over the last hour and a half, plus trying to get this thing started since I got started early and checked on the thing and called in on it myself. I called in on the call, and I was listening to the Mona Keely Beals. I was listening to the I played it. I shared my screen and was listening to the generally speaking. I don't know why no one else could hear it, so that's odd. But anyway, I've never really hosted this one. I host my own on my own Zoom, and for some reason, I don't know. I'm an idiot, and I don't know what I'm doing. So with that, I can at least talk. So I'm gonna go ahead and so I think if you want to try, you should be able to hit *6 and come off of mute, and then unmute your phone if you want to say anything or chat. So for those of you who are new, I'm assuming there might be one or two of you on here that are brand new, 1 or 2 times or 3 times, and maybe you haven't even heard me yet. So my name is Bill Predebon. I'm out of Scottsdale, Renatus, over here in Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to type in my cell phone number and give that to you if you're listening or if you're on the webinar. That's 760-533-3141. 760-533-3141. So that is access, or that's just my personal cell phone number. Feel free to use it. I will tell you, a lot of times I don't get back to you. I don't answer right away if you call or text or whatever. And if you've ever been on this call and you've ever called me and I haven't called you back, in fact, there is one person I do need to reach out to today. I think that's Michelle. But if I ever haven't reached out to you and responded, just call me back or text me again, and I'll get right back to you. It might have been Patricia, actually. So I have you in my notes. I will call you guys and for anything you need. I will say a lot of folks, probably a dozen or so, have taken advantage of it. Not that it's an advantage, but I'm just saying, definitely I put it out there for a reason. So with that, remember, let's see. All right. So I'm out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been actively marketing Renatus over the last 3 years. This is technically, going on my 4th year. I'm a member of the pit as of last year, which is awesome. And I'm proud to do that. And I can't wait to be on the pack. That's my goal. One of them, I guess. And I've been educated by Renatus since 2008. And I'm not going to share my whole story here with you, typically, well, chiming in, but I want to get more to, obviously we want to do training and we want to do, get you guys some valid info. So I'm just trying to tell you guys who I am for those of you who don't know me and haven't been on this call before. So, but yeah, I've been trained with Renatus Education since 2008. I've been investing as a real estate investor, started out with flipping short sales and then doing fix and flips. And then, for some of you guys, and I'll what's the segue in? See, that's a big word for me. You don't have to be an English major to do this. I'm going to segue into my training with this, but there's no particular pattern or path that you have to worry about being on. Michael says, and not just Michael, but I refer to Michael a lot because he usually trains twice a week, and now Dane is training on his Wednesdays and stuff. But I've just been listening to Michael and Christian for a long time, and John O'Neill is my main mentors that I used to listen to or still do, and it's a journey, as he says. It's not the start or finish. It's typically to engage in the journey and appreciate the journey, and you'll hear these leaders talk about that. So, for me, as I got into fix and flip, I went after a pretty big project in my first couple of years, and it derailed me. It could have been great, you guys. Could have, would have been, it should have been. You know, it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but it was a 3-year venture, and it took money away and it took time away from what I was focused on. I wasn't really focused on the marketing necessarily, but I was focusing on building a team here still and working within the team, but not as much, more on real estate relationships. But anyway, my point was that, you know, I didn't even start really buying buy and hold property and creating wealth until 2013. Really was my first rental property to speak of, other than the one that was upside down in the very beginning that I didn't short sell. So the point to that is that you know, there's a system in place, and for you to follow, and your journey can go any which way you want, and just be aware of it. Just be aware that if you can, that you're not in a hurry, and Renatus isn't going anywhere, and neither is the education, the opportunity. So
hey, how we doing?
I'm gonna have to keep everybody. I was gonna try to unmute everybody, but it's
just go to the.
Just remember, I think if you can, I muted everybody. But if someone wants to come off mute, hit *6, and then just let me know that works. Or do I need to unmute everybody? I'm not sure. But anyway, I just want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to ask questions, because for those of you who aren't new, and those of you who are new, and everybody on this line, at any given time, as I jump into this training, and just mastermind, if you want to call it that, you can interrupt me with any question on the chat, or you know, if you're on the phone, like I'm usually on the phone a lot of times walking my dogs, not on the app. And so, you know, I unmute myself and then ask a question or whatever. So feel free to bring up a topic or a question or a thought that pertains to you and what you're doing. And most likely it'll affect the rest of the team. And it gives me an opportunity to address something that's most important to you guys in your business and what you're working on now versus what I think you want to hear. Okay? Because it's definitely not about me. And it's not about what I want to train on or what I want to tell you or what I want to share with you. It's about what you, what can help you. And a lot of times I don't know what that is if you don't ask. So feel free to let me know if you can unmute yourself with *6 and then be able to talk. Because I don't want to have everybody off mute or muted if you can't get off mute. Okay. So a couple of thoughts. As I mentioned, it's a system, and you're going to have your own journey, right? And so we'll weave into real estate a little bit. I like to talk about real estate because it's obviously pretty important, but this is a marketing call. However, marketing relates to real estate and vice versa. That's the whole system that Bob put in place. If you've listened to the one that I just played, the generally speaking, that is on the homepage right now of your Renatus Business Center. So with that, he was talking about the 4 systems, the 4 steps, the 4 money-making activities: see the people, tell the story, build for events, and follow up. And I'm sure everybody's heard it more than once. If you're new, you've probably heard it a couple times. And then he was relating Helios to that and using Helios as a tool. But as you all know, every one of your leaders and your pack members and your pit members and even some of your leaders, you know, never had those kind of tools when they got started. We had the business center, and it's a face-to-face business. It's a people business, and it's going out there and reaching out to people. So I'm not going to specifically talk about I'm going to have a couple different things I'll talk about, but I'm not going to talk about necessarily each individual money-making activity, but more as a system in general. And I think this is important, what I've been experiencing with some of my team, what I've experienced in the past. So, you know, when you get someone into the system, the cool thing is think about this, with the money-making activities, the 4 money-making activities, it's easy to track, right? So if you're not having guests at any events, then you know that you're not seeing enough people, okay? Or if you're seeing people and you're not inviting them, or you're not inviting them properly, not that there's a right way to invite them, but you're actually getting people to show up, then perhaps you're not creating enough intrigue for them to want to go. Okay, so let me give you an example. Yesterday, I'm doing a fix and flip. I just got the permits. It's taken me 5 months, which is cool. It's not that cool. Hey, Keels, do me a favor. Can you come off mute and just let me know that you are able to come off mute, or do I need to unmute everybody? Can you hit *6, Keely, and then
just click the mute button and here.
Okay, so you're good. Perfect. All right, you guys, perfect. So if anybody has any questions, thank you, Keely Leo. You're awesome. Love you, girl. So I'm doing this fix and flip, and I was meeting up with a guy. I've known him a little bit. I've never met him before, but he does my order for my wood. All right, so this wood order to build this house is just the wood, not the trusses included, and not the labor, is 20 grand for this wood order. And so I had to meet up with him to get a check so I could have the wood delivered to the house today. And his name is Casey. And so, like I said, he's been in my phone. I've ordered wood in many times, or several times from him when I've had to order big wood packages and get it delivered and all that stuff and get it spec'd out by the framer. And so I met him yesterday. It was at my door. And so he was talking. He's like, he asked me a question right away, like just making small talk. So immediately, I knew he was kind of outgoing, right? He wasn't introverted. And the first thing that I came across my head was I need to invite him to a meeting, right? He's in the industry. And so, I just mentioned what, he asked, I think he asked, what do you, are you a developer or whatever he asked. I said, oh no, I'm an investor, whatever. And I didn't spend much time on me. I didn't give him my portfolio. I didn't give him my history. I asked about him. How long has he been with this company, right? And he's like, oh yeah. And then he just went on to tell me his dad owns the company. He told me he graduated he told me his wife's a realtor. He told me he graduated college a couple years ago, and that he, 2012 in fact, and that he studied, I can't believe I can't remember right now. And he went got a job and was working in this job, and his dad was trying to get him to come join his company. And they own a crane company and the wood company, and they deliver it, and you can rent cranes from them, or they can contract out cranes and stuff, all this stuff. So anyway, long story short is he started telling me all about himself, and which is good. And I just simply asked him, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about, flipping or doing any investments yourself? And he's like, oh yeah, my wife's a realtor. And of course, naturally, anytime you ask that question. So I'm already thinking ahead of what I'm going to do. And he's telling me a little bit about his dad and some of the stories that he had heard during the crash, just a common short, and you got to get through it. I'm sitting there with the invoice, writing the check for 20 grand and just kind of asking him questions. And then I simply just said, hey, what I do is I actually share with people how we do this, right? And that was pretty much my words. If you want, I can find, and I didn't tell him, oh, we got a meeting Thursday night, it's a seminar, you come down, right? I was like, listen, if you want, and you are interested in kind of learning a little bit about how this works, and we started talking, we actually talked for a little bit. So I was asking him a few more questions, but he was actually just willing to talk. And he was talking about, Airbnb and how they've been building these homes and how much wood's going for, and just little small talk about the industry. And he was talking about, and so I was like, yeah, it sounds like you're really interested in kind of doing it yourself and putting your money to work. And, he's like operating the business with his dad and stuff. And so I said it like this. I go, listen, I'll check my schedule. I said, well, we usually do something all the time. I said, let me see what I've got. I think I got something Thursday night. I'm not sure this week. And what I'll do is I'll get back to you and I'll get you in, I'll get you a seat, you and your wife. And I didn't even say seat. I said, I'll get you an invite. I'll text you the address, tell you. And I assumed that he wanted to come. So I wasn't saying, hey, would you like to come down? It was like, listen, let me check my schedule. I do these, for lack of a better term, seminars. I give this information. I do an overview of how people get into this, how I got into it, and I'll get you down there. I'll invite you up to the office. I'll have you guys a seat. It'll be perfect. You'll kind of learn a little bit. He's like, oh yeah, we're always interested in learning. I'm like, perfect. So I just assumed that he was going to go, but I didn't tell him it was definitely Thursday night or a certain time or any of that stuff. I did that all later. And so I didn't even text him until 5 p.m. And that was like at 1 o'clock that day. So I didn't get back and text him right away. I actually took my time, and then I texted him a little bit later and I said, hey, I've got you all set. We're set for Thursday night. Here's the address, 7 p.m. It'll be 7 to 9. I am good news. I am having the event on Thursday. Text me yours and your wife's. I need your email, because I already had his email, but I'm like, I need your email, and then give me your wife's name and phone number and email. And he sent it immediately. I'm like, cool, you're all registered. I got you guys a seat. So that was the minute I had an opportunity where someone was in my 3-foot rule where they showed intrigue. Now, some people, they do it to everybody. Chris McIntosh is a good person. You don't prejudge. For me, I'm not always on like that, right? But this time in particular, I knew I wanted new guests, and I like people in my industry that are already in the business. This guy's obviously a little bit of an entrepreneur because his dad owns the company, and he's doing well. I know his company does well, and so he could be a raw student. If he likes what he sees, he's going to be able to perform, right? So I know that I can spend more time with that individual, knowing that he probably has the resources. I saw his truck. He probably has the resources to get started if he chooses, right? So those are some of the things I did. Now, once you get to the event, let's just say you've got some folks, right? So that was an example of getting someone to the event, right? And I was talking to my buddy on my team. He's a superstar on my team, just kicking things up again, and young kid, and been with me for a couple years now. And just everybody loves him in the community. He's done a lot of service work for the community, won the Service Cup Award before. And then, and he's also done a little bit of real estate as he's getting started. And so I was talking to him, and he's having a lead generation problem, right? So, whatever it is that you need to do to generate leads, meetups, go to networking events, redo your list. I can't recommend that enough. And then once you get people to the meeting, right? Once you have people, and we call it a meeting here, you don't call it a meeting to them, right? It's a forum, a business forum, or introduction presentation, or whatever term you guys use in your territory. But meeting typically isn't the most enticing adjective or description of what's going on when you're talking to your guests. But here, I call it a meeting. Once you get people to the meeting, naturally, you're going to have them sit down, and they're going to enjoy the meeting, right? And so at the meeting, you've got your etiquette. I'm not going to go over meeting etiquette and stuff like that. Just get them seated. You don't have to wait for them. You don't have to. I follow up, I'll send Casey a text on probably Wednesday, but most likely Thursday. Just say, hey, see you tonight around 7. Get there a little early, get a good seat. Something like that. That's it. It's the expectation that he's going. It's not, hey, are you going to be able to make it? There's none of that. It's just, see you tonight at 7. It's not even, hey, I'm reminding you, because that, you don't need to remind them, but you are reminding them. Now, so whatever you're doing at your meeting, the key is that, I do let people know, especially when I see them there, that, hey, if I'm not right next to you, come see me afterwards, especially if I'm doing the presentation, or if I know, with my team and our guests, we typically have several people that we're going to need to talk to right afterwards. So I want them to come over to me wherever I am. So I'll set that expectation. I'm like, listen, once we're done, don't leave right away. Just come see me, come find me, or I'll come find you, and I'll know, and we'll just follow up real quick after and set something up for the future. So I kind of set that expectation. Now, you've heard me say this before. After the meeting, you've now saw the people, and you've built a little bit for the event, and now you're going to work into, or you've told the story. Now you're going to tell the story a little bit more. You've already built for the event, and then you're going to lead into follow-up, right? So these 4 money-making activities. So the whole point of Thursday night, in my opinion, is once they're there, I can't wait till it's done. Okay. I can't wait till the meeting's done. Now, when I'm doing the presentation, it's a little bit different because I'm there to perform and deliver value to everybody else's guests. Naturally, my guests are there, but I have an obligation to delivering the highest content that I possibly can every single time, you guys. I'm nervous when I do it. I work on it. I usually don't book any meetings for that Thursday, and I study it again, my presentation. I change it up a little bit. I add value to it, and I deliver. But regardless of that, I'm only looking forward to the end. I'm looking forward to the end because that's the beginning. Everything about Renatus, the end is the beginning. So when you're placing an order, when you're meeting a client, when you have just gotten a first lead, when you've gotten a phone call, whatever it is, that's the end of the first task, but it's the beginning of everything. All the way up until when they place their order and they fund, right? You hear Dane Clark, that's unlocking the education. That's the beginning. It's not the end. There's no end. It's a journey. So like, I can't wait for the meeting to end so the next step can begin, because the next step is where the money's at, right? So on Thursday night, this system is this, right? And we all know this. It's simply, what did you like best? Small talk, getting them to admit that they like something about the meeting, right? And they're going to be just 99 out of 100. They're going to be skeptical a little bit, just because of the price. It's not because they don't like what they saw. It's not because they don't like the people. It's not because they don't like the community. You're going to get your 1 in 100 that are just going to walk away and it's not for them. That's fine. They're going to think it's an MLM or whatever they're going to think, right? Even if we don't talk about the business side of things, the earning side of things, they still have that, that mentality. That's fine. But most of the people have some interest, but they're going to be back a little bit. They're really going to be thinking about $20,000. No matter how badly they want it, they can't fathom any other way that they don't have 20 grand to put down. Even if they do have the 20 grand, then they're thinking about not spending the 20 grand because they made the 20 grand, right? So think about this. When you got qualified individuals, the first thing they're not going to do is spend their money, right? People that are done well, they've protected their credit, they've built equity in their property, they have built a retirement, so they have done all the things that society has taught them to do, which is hold on to their freaking money, not reinvest it, right? Not take risk, not spend their equity in their house and buy toys, not take out lines of credit, not use credit cards. All of these things they're being taught, right? Even though they do a little bit, right? So even people that are qualified, the last thing they're going to do is go, oh, that was great. Here's my 20 grand, right? Because they're going to not be worried about the money, but they're going to be worried about what? Time. Do I have time for this? Do I need this? I already kind of know a lot of stuff, right? I'm pretty smart. I'm fine. I'm successful. I've got money, right? So think about this. This is some of the thought process that's going through their mind is that, you've either got the people that don't have the money and don't even have a clue how to get the money, but they want it so bad because they need to change their life. Or you've got the people that really want to change their life as well. And they know that, see you, Tyler. No worry. You're welcome, buddy. I appreciate the text, brother. These folks are thinking to themselves, they're going to have their own apprehensions because based on where they're coming from, right? No matter what it is. So Thursday night is simply acknowledging that they appreciated something they saw, right? You'll hear Michael say, okay, we need to get you in more, involved more in velocity banking, or we need to get more of that information in front of you. Oh, we need to get you started on a class with velocity banking, or whatever it is that they said that they liked, right? So it's not a close, right? As you've heard Bob Snyder say, he doesn't necessarily believe in a one-time close, in a follow-up close after the seminar, right? After the meeting, after the presentation. There is up to the individual. It's up to us to close your guests, right? At some point you heard him say, and if you didn't hear this, which obviously you didn't because it didn't go up, but if you haven't listened to it, he says, you got to ask for the order. There's nothing wrong with asking for the order. And Michael Huggins will tell you, he asks 3, 4, 5, 6 times before something happens, right? Same with John and Christian and all that. They remember, and typically even you're feeling out your guests on Thursday night and you're like, hey man, let me ask you this, it's like, cause normally they've said something like, you know what? I'm just getting started. I'm just out of school. I've got school debt. I'm changing jobs, this, that, and the other thing. And so they're leading on they're leading you on to the point that they don't have the money, or they don't think that they have the money, right? Or they don't think they have the ability. And then that's when you can move in and you go, let me ask you, after, once you've talked to them a little bit, you found out what they like the best, right? And this is all I'm getting up to a point where we're going to do is that this is the system, right? This is important for you guys to see. This is the system that every single week, and it doesn't have to just be at a live event, but every single week during this time when someone sees some information, this is the system that you have to follow up with every single week. So the way this works is you can ask them, if money wasn't an object, if money wasn't the issue, if there was no money on the table, where would you see yourself getting started and when, right? Would you just, and then I might even just say it, you'd probably start full combo and you'd start tonight, right? Okay, great. So once I show you the money, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it. You can get started, right? Yeah. You show me where, you get me the money, I'll do it. Okay. So the other folks, you guys might be thinking, again, that they have the money, but they don't have any time. They don't have, they don't need the education. They're pretty educated. And these are simply, in their mind, facts, right? They are the truth, but they're also an excuse. If you stick with it, you're just hearing them tell you why they can't do it, not why they can, right? So I don't really care. I don't care what they say on Thursday night. I listen to it. I take mental note of it. And all I'm concerned about is what? All I'm concerned about is booking the meeting from a meeting, right? A BAM fan. And you've heard that every single time, right? Always leading up with, when you guys get started, when you get into the education, you're going to see this. Once you get started, once you hang around our community, right? I'm saying these kind of things, right? You'll see that there's not a lot of time involved. You'll see that this will supplement what you're already doing. You'll see that, you're telling me that, you like the idea of velocity banking and paying less interest. You've got resources that you already have that you could be using for that tool. You told me, these are the folks that have the resources, right? But don't have the time. And then you're leading up and you're like, yeah, once you get started, you're going to be able to jump into this. You'll see that it doesn't take time to do velocity banking and you can be saving money already. And then eventually you'll see that, whatever it is, I'm letting them know. I'm assuming the sale. I'm already telling them, right? And then it's booking that meeting, right? I'm thinking about the next thing. So if it's my team's guess or my guess, right? It doesn't matter. I'm like, so let me ask you this, right? I always say that. Let me ask you this. What's your schedule look like tomorrow? The very least we need to do is get on the phone tomorrow. And what we'll do is set up a one-on-one. Now, typically you guys, there's a Saturday meeting of some sort, right? So there's a follow-up presentation. There is a super Saturday. There is an intensive, or there is a proper tour. There's always something going on in all of your markets on a Saturday. So the first thing I asked is, in Arizona and Scottsdale, we pass out a flyer. Every single night we pass out a flyer. It's got all of our upcoming events on it, and they know what the Saturday event is. The presenter has talked to the team or to the guests and told them, about the events upcoming on Saturday. And so I'll just assume that they know that there's a Saturday event, and I'll say, hey, how does it look for Saturday? Are you going to be able to make it Saturday? Or I'm assuming you're going to make it Saturday, or how does Saturday look for you? And whatever the reason is, right? They're going to have an excuse. They're going to have something that's legit. They literally have plans that day, whatever it is. And then I'm still going to book a meeting from the meeting, right? And I'll ask a question. The best way, would you agree you probably have a little bit more information you'd like to get? You probably want to learn a little bit more about velocity banking, or maybe see exactly what 20,000 will get you once you get started and how you get started. Given the fact that you'd want to see that, the best way for me to do that is for us to sit down. So I'll have Jen and get a hold of you tomorrow. We'll kind of get on a three-way, and then we'll set up a time for us to meet either tomorrow or we'll meet Monday or Tuesday. We'll get good at going right away, right? So we'll set the expectation for the follow-up. Everybody knows this, so I'm not teaching you guys anything new necessarily. However, it's still a system. This system is not just meet someone on Monday, go to an event on Thursday, book them to Saturday, and follow up, right? Because it's all the way through. If someone goes to a webinar, the process starts over. If they come to a Saturday, the process starts over. It's a continuous follow-up, as you heard everybody that's ever trained, including all the way down from Bob Steiner. It's a continuous follow-up. Follow-up, the fourth step is money that's in the follow-up is a continuous follow-up. And with that continuous follow-up, you guys, it's simply this. And you've heard me kind of say this before, but Thursday night, I generally speaking, from the first presentation that they've seen, even if they've seen like a 15-minute intro, but as soon as they've seen the full presentation intro, whether it's on video, on live online, whatever the case is, or typically on a Thursday night or even a Saturday property tour where you guys are doing the presentation, wherever they're seeing the intro presentation, the 4 pillars, 5 pillars are rather, or the epic, whatever you want to call it. It's not, generally speaking, ever where I'm closing, okay? It is the second meeting. It's the follow-up, okay? And it's a one-on-one follow-up. It's not over the phone. And at that time, it's not necessarily going to close them. I'm always going to book them to another meeting, but I'm asking for the sale. I'm moving forward with you know, and I like the way these guys have put this recently, Dane and Michael and Christian. You know, the first step is placing the order. The second step is finding the funding, and the third step is unlocking the education, right? So, you know, I'm placing that order if possible, or I'm letting them know that's going to be the first step that we're going to do, and then, but I'm at that point, I'm trying to find out where they are, right? Because at the follow-up, I mean, in theory, if you can get all their questions answered, there should be no objections, right? But typically, there's still going to be an objection. And typically, it's going to be money, and it's going to be finding the money. That's fine. Or you found the money. It's just whether or not they're going to spend the money. And so that's okay. This is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-step process. Now, after 3 or 4 meetings, so now you've booked them to a Super Saturday, maybe it's or a property tour, maybe it's the following week. So this is a couple-week process. Enjoy the journey. Now, remember, if you are working with one person, then this is a long journey for you, because you're going to go 2-3 weeks before you get someone started, even to get their order placed. And then they have to go through another week of funding, or 2 weeks of funding, or 3 weeks of funding if they're doing Get Funded Online or a HELOC or something like that. And then if you've got 4 to 6 weeks before this person places an order. So if you're waiting 4 to 6 weeks and you're not continually working with someone every single week at all different phases of the system, then your business is going to grow slowly. Because a lot of those people that you're working with by the 4th or 6th week could back out. They could change their mind. They could take some time off. Life could happen, and they get derailed. So then you've got to start all over with the next person. And now you might go 10, 8, or 12 weeks without an order because you were only working with one person all the way through. So we all know this, right? So what I'm getting at is this is a constant, continuous follow-up. This is with everyone. So there's going to be people in different orders of the system. But here's the key, right, is in this follow-up, no matter what the stage is that we do have to ask for the order. And eventually we need to just set the meeting for the order, right? They've figured out where the funding has come from. We know that they have the money. We know that they have the ability and that they want the item. People need to be led. They're literally not going to, and you've heard all the trainers talk about this, right? And we don't make it up. We're literally just talking from experience. And I guess in reality, a little bit more experience than others, with Michael and Scott and the PAC members and a lot of the PIT members, more experience, much more experience than most, just because they're doing it more often and they've had more success over time, over a couple of years, several years, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of doing this marketing, right? So you've got time. But they've overcome objections. They have determined where the money comes from in 1 or 2 follow-ups, and it's time to place the order. And so a lot of times it's still an experience for everybody, and everybody's experience is different. So it has to be where, you're booking an appointment to set the order, or you're literally like, okay, let's get on the phone. We're going to, get your credit card out. We're going to call, you're asking for the money, right? Did you get the loan? For me, when I'm talking to folks that are working on, let me give you an example. So I mentioned to you guys, I think a couple weeks ago, I did a 3-foot rule. I called someone out of my list. I hadn't talked to him in a year. I won't spend much time on it, but I did. He came to an intensive. Then he and his wife came to a meeting. Then I did a one-on-one follow-up. Then they came to a property tour, and then we did another follow-up, and they placed their order in the first follow-up after 2 events, and then we started figuring out where the money was going to come from, and the money's coming from a HELOC. Okay, so in their HELOC process, you guys, I'm not telling them what to do or how to do it, but I'm following up with them almost on a couple daily basis where, hey, did you make the appointment? Yeah, we went down to the bank. Okay, yeah, they said they could do it. Then, hey, what are you doing? Oh, next. Then they're texting me like, we got an appointment on Friday at 4 o'clock at the bank to bring the paperwork and fill out the application. Great. So on Monday or this weekend, I'm like, hey, how did the application go? Did you get it complete? Did you start collecting your documents? So I'm following up with them in their money-making process. I'm not waiting 3 weeks for them to go, hey, did you get the loan? I'm not waiting for them to call me and go, hey, by the way, we got our HELOC and it got wired into our account today. I'm on track as to what they're doing, right? And I'm reminding them, once you get this funds, we can unlock the education. We can get you started. We're going to sit down for 2 hours. We're going to go through the education and what you're going to tell me what you want to do. And then I can kind of guide you and help you figure out which classes you may or may not, right? I'm not setting a plan for them. I'm not telling them they're going to make any money in a certain amount of time, none of that stuff. But I'm reminding them of what remember what I said, you guys, this is so key, is that the end, I can't wait for the end. I can't wait for the end of the meeting. I can't wait for the end of the follow-up. I can't wait till I place the order. And then that way I can start getting the funding going. And then I can't wait for them to get funded. Why? Because then I get to sit down with them and go over the plan, right? And then they can start introducing people. So once they get funded, then not only does it unlock their education, but perhaps they're going to become an IMA in a soon period of time. And if they become an IMA, now I got 2 more new leads coming. And that's another 20 grand. $19,000. So like it never ends, right? It's always the end is the beginning of the newest best thing. So with my folks, so we've got people and they're telling you, they know where the money is. When they know, are you ready? Do you have it? Let's get it placed. Let's place the order, right? Let's fund the order. Let's unlock the education. And that part of the follow-up has to happen. So here's the deal. If you've got people that are going through this system, and now remember, if you backtrack a little bit, so I have no questions, you guys, and I haven't had anybody come off mute, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. So feel free that you guys to interrupt me or ask me questions. But think back. If you're not having these conversations or these difficulties or these issues, like I know people on my team that are on this call, they're having these issues. And that's a good thing, because that means their people are in the system. That means they invited people to the meeting. They've had guests there. Then they've had follow-ups and they haven't placed orders. That is a good thing. You'll hear Michael say this all the time. It's perfect, right? But if you're not having these issues, then we got to go back to the point where you are not inviting, or you're not inviting properly. Properly is not the right word. You're not inviting perfectly. You're not creating enough intrigue or value for them to show up. Or you're not even talking to enough people anyway, whatever, right? And then, if you're not getting a follow-up at all set, and no one's coming to a second or third event, then my guess is you're setting them up for the wrong type of expectation at the meeting. Maybe you told them it was only going to be an hour and it took 2 hours. Maybe you told them it was going to be a networking event and it's not a networking event. If you tell people it's a networking event and they're showing up, they're going to be mad. If you tell people there's no cost, for education, like, you know what I mean, and you lead people on in a wrong direction, or you get them there on false pretenses, you might not get follow-ups, okay? But if you're going through the system and you have people in the system, here's the key. This is a good thing. B, you're in the beginning. You're in the system, and they're in the system. And so there's never a stop. And then if they are going through and they've been to 3 or 4 events and they're ready to get going and they know they like what they see, they haven't said no, then it's time to lock them down, right? It's time to place the order. At the very least, if they don't have their funding or they're not ready to fund, we get their order in the system. It gets them more committed. Or we start back over. We go back, we have a one-on-one follow-up as if it was the second follow-up, and we go, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, right? If I use this all the time. If 10 was, let's place the order today. Here's my credit card. I'm ready to go. I can't wait to join the Build Go team. I can't wait to unlock my education, right? I'm telling them this. This is what I'm saying. This is a 10. 10 isn't, hey, I'm ready to get started now. A 10 is all of these things, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, Bill, I am not interested. I appreciate everything. This isn't for me. I'm not ready to now. I don't see myself being interested later, right? Where you see yourself, right? I don't care what the number is. 2 through 9, they're not a 10. So then I just ask them, right? What does it take to be a 10? Is it you don't know if you want to spend the money? You don't know how you're going to make the money back, right? I'm going right to it. You don't know if you have the time to use it. You don't know what it entails. You don't know how much 20 grand gets you. You don't think you'll be able to study the education. You don't like the marketing system. What is it it's going to take for you to get from a 9 to 10? Not that you're necessarily going to do it, but let's get you to a 10 where you're ready to do it, right? So they're naturally going to give you an answer. And then that's the objection you've got to overcome. And it may be a smokescreen objection. So it might be 1 or 2 or 3 objections after you ask a few questions, right? The point is, you're going to get them to a 10. You've got to get back. If they've been through the system and they're at a point where they're told you they're ready to get started, I'm going to get started. I'm going to start next week. I'm going to start next week. I'm going to start later. I'm going to start tomorrow. We're going to get together. I'm going to get this done. You know, all of these things, that's great. So 2 things either happen. We start back over at the follow-up and get them booked, or book them through a meeting where they know we're placing the order, or we have to let them go, and we because otherwise we spend a lot of energy on this, right? There's a lot of energy, and at some point we make a decision where they're either not capable of funding right now, or they're not ready to spend their money, right? Or we haven't created enough value where we just bring them to another meeting. Right? We invite them to another event and they go. And most of the time, at that time, when they've come to another event, it's been a month or 5 weeks or 3 weeks, and they've seen several things and we've had conversations with them, then we get them started, right? I mean, and we ask them, you know, what are you waiting for? Why, what's the delay? You know, where do you want to be, right? It's just a couple of questions. So my point is, you know, in this system, it's there for you guys for the taking. And the more people you can have in this for money making activities system, in the beginning, you will spend the time on the finding the people, right? See the people. And when you have that beginning, and I don't care if you've been here a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 5 days, you can start right now. Doesn't matter. And you're like, okay, I'm going to restart my system. I'm going to reboot my system. I'm going to unplug and plug it back in, and I'm going to get started, right? Or, you know, I've been on this stalemate for a little while, whatever it is. Or if you're some of the folks on my team, you know, they're full blown, whatever the case is. The cool thing is when you have this system in place, and you have people moving through the system, and you've started to invite, you've had some guests, we're booking follow-ups, it becomes natural. It becomes a constant, semi-conscious to conscious thought process of who you got to call, what's the next, where's this person at in the system. If you look at my whiteboard, right, where they are, I can look at them every day and I go, I got to get, right? Now Helios, I'm going to go all the way back to the darn, generally speaking, that I played this morning that didn't play for you guys. I was listening to it. I don't know what the hell happened, but go listen to it. It's the Helios. Helios is going to help you as a tool keep all these people in line, send out emails and track them with texts and re-invite and let you know what part of the process they're in and all these great things. It is a fantastic tool, and as Bob says, most will use it, some won't, doesn't matter. Right? Whatever your preference. I'm going to use it, but for me, it's still a people business. When it comes down to the hard questions and the hard facts and the hard conversations, those are not done through text and email and social media and DM, PM, and all that crap. They're done face-to-face and on the phone with a phone call. And that's how you close business. People buy you. You've heard this. People believe in what you are doing and what your mentors are doing and what your team is doing. No matter if it's your team or you're not just getting started, the team that you're on. And if they can't see that and associate with that and everything like that, they're just buying cyberspace, and it's not the same. And you're going to have more chargebacks and all that stuff or whatever, more cancellations or more upset people. It's a people business. So, you know, Helios is that tool. Bob's going to talk about that and generally speaking about Helios being a tool. It's going to help you track these people through the system, right? But the more that you have people in the system, and you know this, the cool thing is it becomes automatic. It becomes a conscious level where, you know, if you're like Michael and Dane and John O'Neill and all the pack and all of the pit and then even the people that you see in your group and yourselves having success. I mean, people on my team, all of people on my team doing this, they are now constantly thinking about the person they talk to. They're talk to Bruce. Oh, Bruce is doing this. Oh, Joe's doing this. Oh, I know that I got my friend in Texas. He's going to go to the regional. Like they know where they're at in the system, and then they're moving on with the next person. And then they have that system, and it's a constant thing that you're doing, and it becomes natural. You don't have to wake up each day and go, oh, I got Renatus. I got to figure out some marketing. I got to do something. Just start with see the people, right? And if you guys struggle at all, we'll end with this before anybody has any questions or anything. If you guys struggle at all with getting guests to an event, or when people go to the event, they don't book a follow-up and they don't go to another meeting, or people go to the meeting and then they do a follow-up with you or your mentor or both of you. They come to a second event and then they're not closing, right? Each one of these steps, you can track where the disconnect is and where the order isn't being placed. And then you can talk, please, to your 5-star about that and how to look at those situations and then address them. So, for example, one of my team members told me the other day she's had 20 people go to the event. So the first thing I asked was, it 20 buying units or 20 people? Give or take. Don't worry about the numbers. Then we started talking about exactly how many follow-ups we've done, how many 3-way calls we've done after it, and how many second events they've gone to, right? And then we talked about where we broke it down. And there wasn't an answer necessarily, but there was at least a recognition of what was going on. My point is that at any point in time when you're breaking down and you're getting to a point where you're not closing and funding and the beginning doesn't happen, that's the beginning, right? Unlocking the education, getting the education, funding the combo, that is the beginning, okay? If any of those things aren't happening, then somewhere along the lines you can tell your mentor or your affiliate rather, your 5-star, what's been going on and where you're at and what's happening. And then you can correct it, you can fix it, you can work on it, and you can adjust it. And so you can then build a system. You guys, this can start today. You can redo it today. You can up your ante today. You can up your game, whatever it is, just by utilizing those 4 money-making activities. So Bob Snyder's, generally speaking, in the business center today, I think they're all good. They're all fat. They're all amazing. Every time I listen to one, I get new thoughts on what to train on, what to think about, or tell myself and teach myself. I learn, right? I'm not even kidding. And it's only 7 minutes or 6.5 minutes, whatever it is. And literally, he's talking about Helios as a tool, but then he ends up talking about the 4 money-making activities. And that will recap almost everything that I talked about today in a way, and led right into this training. I mean, it was hand in hand. That's why Abdi does such a great job of putting us all together with a little bit of music, a theme, a quote, and then a generally speaking, and then a matrix, and then we lead into the training. All right, it's 8 o'clock. I didn't get any questions. I didn't get any chats that I know of, so that's cool. Yeah. So with that, I guess we will call it a day. If anybody's got anything, I don't know if you guys have a question or anything. I'm going to type in my cell phone number again, 760-533-3141. I can unmute.
But I didn't know we had three different
What about
numbers.
it?
No, I better not do
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
A lot of people are busy. I'm going to mute everybody.
I have no idea what to go by. I would both.
That's cool. Okay, so you are unmuted. If you did want to chat, you have to take yourself off mute. Otherwise, it's 8 o'clock. You know how to reach me. You guys make it a great day. It's fantastic. Say happy birthday to Christian for sure. You'll see Dane tomorrow, I believe, and you'll probably see Christian on Thursday. We'll catch you guys on the flip side next week. You know, we're halfway through the year. Please, you guys, if you are 5-star qualified, or you have or you're 1-star with 5, or you're working towards that, get with your 5-star, make it happen, get out to Leaders Retreat. I'll finish with this, you guys. These events, they're, for me, ever since I committed in 2016, 100% to be a part of Renatus, to be a part of the leadership, to be a part of, to shoot for the pit and the pack. Every single event that's on the calendar, and that's national or regional or even locally, I'm 100% committed to it. It's not like I think about it, I just do it. So it should be a natural thing for you guys. Make it happen. It's worth it. I don't care what it takes. The more sacrifice you have to make, the more you have to, just like buying your education, the more risk, the more adversity, the more, the harder it is for you to fund the education and get started. The harder it was, I should say, the harder these things are, the more value that's there, the more you'll go after to make it back up. You guys, if whatever the reason is, you're struggling time-wise or financial-wise or whatever it is, and you have not gotten registered for that, register this week. Just get it done. Talk to the people around you. If you know someone who's not going and you're going or whatever, you know, remind them of why. And the why is what comes after it. This is literally a stepping stone to what will happen after the fact. I promise you. It's unfortunately, we're human and we need instant gratification and satisfaction. And that's not even a word. Again, no English is needed for this. You want to be satisfied right away, and you want an instant result, and you want to get your money back and all that. You want a return on your investment. Screw that. The return is going to be tenfold forever when you go to these events. But you can't experience it if you don't go. And same with your colleagues and your friends. You're welcome, Becky. Thanks, Jessica. I love you guys. It's 8 o'clock. I got to bring my dog to the vet today. I'm at the vet a lot. These dogs are getting older. He's got to get his staples out and all his stitches and everything. So that's a good thing. So I'm taking him up in an hour, and I love you guys. If you need me, yeah, Eddie. So he'll be ready for you, Keely. He's all healed up. All right, guys, reach out to me if you need me. 803, I got to let you go. I'll see everybody at Leaders Retreat. Have a great 4th of July. I'll see you next week before the 4th, and I'll see you on the call tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. I will end the meeting. We've got the recording. There we go. Stop recording.